Hi everyone, it's Gina K from Gina K Designs and your host of Stamp TV. And today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you a fun technique using the brand new Fruit of the Season Stamp TV kit. For this technique, I'm going to be using the images from the actual Fruit of the Season stamp set. Now I'm going to use the poinsettia image, and as you can see, there's lots of detail and stippling in this image, just like the other images. Well, what I want to show you today is how if you stamp in one color and then you color on top with another color, you get some interesting looks. So for the tools and products that I'm going to use today, I'm going to start with the Fruit of the Season Stamp TV kit, and I'm going to use the coordinating poinsettia die that goes with it. I'm also going to use a Zig Clean Color Real Brush Marker in the number 20 red color. I'm going to be using some Gina K Designs Moonlit Fog ink and some black Onyx ink. I'm also going to use a sponge dauber and a stencil, and the stencil I'm using is the Gina K Designs Lovely Lace Stencil. I'm also going to use a little purple tape to put that stencil onto my cardstock. Then for other cardstock colors, I'm going to be using some of the black Onyx and the red velvet. And I'm also going to use two dies from the Gina K Designs and ThermOWeb collection. These are the small ovals and the large ovals. The small ovals have the double stitching and the large have the single stitching. And when you cut them out and you layer them together, you get that nice little shadow layer around the perimeter. So to begin, I'm going to start with this image. This is the large poinsettia image, and I'm going to just stamp that on a piece of cardstock. This is the Gina K Designs 80-pound white cardstock, and I'm using a lighter weight because I am going to cut this one out. And I'm going to ink it up with some of the Moonlit Fog ink. And I like to use the bigger ink pads for these large stamps, but I've seen people use the cubes and they do work very well. So it's just whatever's convenient for you. So now I'm going to put pressure on this to make sure I get a good image, good impression. And there is my stamped image. Now I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm going to just put that back and I'm going to stamp just a little bit more up here. Although that is part of the design to be very stipply up there. So okay, and then I'm going to clean that stamp with my tidy towel, and I'm going to remove that from my Misti, and now it's time to do some coloring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this number 20 red Zig Clean Color Real Brush Marker, and I'm going to follow along with the shape of the petals of the poinsettia. So I'm just kind of outlining them and then coloring them in. And you can see how beautiful and vibrant that color looks right on top of that moonlit fog. So all of the white spots are grabbing that vibrant red, and then all of the moonlit fog spots are turning a much darker red, and you're getting all of that beautiful detail, almost as if you had two-step stamped it. Now there are parts where you see, because this is a very abstract style image, there are parts that you see that look like a petal. Well, I'm just going to color that in, just kind of follow the shape of a petal. And that just makes it pop out. I'm going to do all of these. And I considered doing the leaves green, but I'll tell you, it looks so pretty in this moonlit fog. It's just so different that I decided to just stick with the moonlit fog leaves. And now I'm just finishing up this last leaf, or last petal. So that is what my flower looks like. Isn't that nice? You can see all of that detail. And I'm just going to leave the gray parts of the flower gray. And now it's time to cut this out using the die. So I've cut one of the die shapes out of some sandy beach cardstock, and then I'm going to lay that on top to make sure that I have it perfectly centered. Then I'm going to just shimmy that die into that space. So I'm going to use a little purple tape just to tape that down onto the white cardstock. And then I'm just going to position it into place like that. Then I'm going to push the die until it snaps into place. Then I know I'm going to get a great impression. And I like to tape those down too, because this is such a big die that by the time the whole thing goes through, it could escape. And then I'm going to cut it out. Now that's cut out perfectly with a perfect edge around the outside. So next I'm going to lay my stencil down in kind of a decorative way. And this way I'm kind of getting this little point down here at the bottom. So once I get it the way I want it, I like to hold it up and make sure it's the way that I want it. And you can use kind of the sides to make sure that you're centered. Make sure that those two little parts are even, and then it looks straight at the bottom. Then I'm going to flip that over and I'm just going to tape that into place on the back. And then I'm also going to tape it down to my workstation so it doesn't shift around. Now I'm not going to have a heavy hand with this. I am going to use Moonlit Fog since that's the color in those petals. But I'm going to start off the stencil and I'm just going to bring that color very lightly in. Now if you're worried about getting it down here, you can just use a piece of cardstock just to block that, and then you don't have to worry about that getting onto the white parts of your cardstock, or the parts that you don't want it to be on your cardstock. I'm going to do that again on this side. And I'm just using a light hand. And then you can look at the evenness of it and you can decide if it needs a little bit more ink in any spots. Now sometimes I find the starkness between the white and the color underneath, even if it's a light color, sometimes it's too much for me. I'm going to look at this and decide if I want to add a little more color on top. So that's what that looks like. I think I might leave that just like it is. That's really pretty and it does look very lacy. So now it's time to add my greeting, and I've already adhered the large and small oval together because I want to make sure that that's all set up before I add the greeting. So I'm going to just put that magnet right up there. And actually I can put this in the corner, but it doesn't work quite the same as when you have a rectangle. So you do want to make sure that your oval looks straight. And I'm going to use the Wishing You a Joyous Christmas. Took me a second to find it. And I'm going to put that right up here like that. And then, make sure that's straight again. I'm going to ink that up with some of the black Onyx ink. There you go. Wishing you a joyous Christmas. All right, and now it's time to assemble the card. So for this assembly, it's going to be quick and easy. I'm going to just put a little bit of tape on the back of my white piece and line that up. There we go. And then this panel is going to go onto my red velvet card base. Like that. I think I will, what I love about this dot adhesive runner is you can move things around right away, and then once you let it sit for a little bit, it becomes totally permanent. I've never had my cards come apart or anything, but I love that ability to pick it up and move it. So I'm going to place this oval closer to the top using some foam squares. So I'm going to use 5 of those. And these are black foam squares, which are kind of fun because I'm using black cardstock. But if you don't have black foam squares, you can use white foam squares. And if you want them to look black, just run a Sharpie marker around the perimeter. All right, and then I'm going to apply that up at the top, like this. And then I'm going to find the right position for my poinsettia. I think I'm going to do it like that. And then I'm just going to tape in this area here and place, well, I probably went up a little high there, so that's another cool thing about this tape is you can roll it right off. But I'll leave it there because I want the extra. Let's see, should I do it this way? Yeah, put it right there. Okay. And there is my finished card project. I hope you've enjoyed today's Stamp TV video. Stay tuned to Stamp TV for more projects, and thanks so much for watching.